Welcome to Under the Sun Podcast. I'm Ilea.
And I'm Irene. Grab a cup of coffee and your comfiest sweats and join us every Monday as two best friends discuss everything from raising free-range gremlins to business and really everything under the sun.
Let's get started, and thanks for being here. Hi.
Hi.
Let's just pretend like we haven't been with each other the last 6 hours.
Right?
Welcome to today's podcast, everybody.
Yeah. And Ilea's shiny new hair.
I was going to say, let's point out the elephant in the room that for once my hair is actually looks great. It looks fantastic.
My favorite thing to blow dry your hair.
It is?
You
my hair specifically or just hair in general?
Hair in general, but you're always like, let me just, you don't have to dry it. I'm like, stop taking away my fun.
Well, I just don't want to in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to waste your time when you could be having another client get a haircut or something.
No, it's like.
I feel like a burden.
No, it's like. How do I explain it? It's like writing a song in increments, but you never get to hear the full thing in one sitting.
All right.
So it's like, okay, that's a good part. That's a good part. That's a good part.
You don't get the final climactic, it looks
what's
beautiful.
The end? Yeah.
Here, let me take off my headphones. Oh, I can't hear it.
Ooh, so shiny. There's a term for this color, which
there is
just because Pinterest makes everything a term, which is both love-hate relationship with a hairstylist, but it's called cowboy copper.
Is that what
it
it's
is
called?
The number one trend this fall
you have
for
to
your hair.
Film it before I leave, after, because we didn't do it after.
We need to get it in the sun.
Oh, okay. Well, we will see each other
on a cruise.
A lot.
We'll do it on the deck.
Okay.
Yay! But yes, cowboy copper, number one trend.
Okay.
For the fall.
Hey, no wonder it was blasting my Instagram, and I was like, oh, I might need.
Yeah.
Because she was harassing me before we go on the cruise. She was like, let me do a scalp treatment because I'm crusty and I don't ever brush my hair. And
it also just doesn't grow.
It doesn't grow. But
because she doesn't stimulate her
don't
scalp.
Brush it. Listen, I'm not going to lie. The first year and a half of motherhood, I have neglected myself.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah, that happens.
Hard.
However, I've been harassing you to brush your hair for 13 years.
Shut up. Don't mention the fact that this is a long-term issue. Let me blame it on motherhood.
Right.
No, but you're right. But it would I didn't shower much before Leo.
Yeah.
But it gets gotten to the point where I'm like, Dave, if you don't watch this kid so I can take 2 hour shower, a deep
need a
clean.
shower.
I need
I love the hand movement.
I need a deep clean. I was like, I'm grossing myself out.
Yeah.
And he's like, that must be pretty bad then because you've been gross our whole marriage. Not really. But anyways, so thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me harass you into giving you a shine treatment.
I feel like that's all our relationship is harassment.
It's true. But also that's another trend. So we did a shine treatment on your hair as well. The other current trend of the fall is glazed donut hair. So
okay.
Just basically it's a clear coat you put on the hair that makes it look like a glazed donut. So
I feel it looks
you're double trendy.
I'm so trendy. I'm only trendy because of Irene. And another elephant, I'm wearing color.
I love it.
I like it too.
I love it.
So nobody asked this at all, but we were talking about our Instagram, our Under the Sun Instagram. The explore page is all, I don't know what happened, but it's all the color matching face tone. And I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. And
it's crazy how actually sick some people look with the wrong color.
I want to find somebody to come and do it live.
Yes. That'd be so fun.
So cool. But
do you know anybody that does that?
Yes.
And will come to us.
Yeah. Come to us. But I just had a couple items, a couple pieces of fabric that I held up and I was like, pink and purple actually look nice on me. I don't know
You're
why.
Not a big pink person.
I'm not a pink person. But then I started reflecting and I was like, Dave has a pink hoodie that I put Girl Dad on it.
Cute.
And I wear it sometimes because that's who I am.
Yeah.
And every time I've worn it, people have complimented me. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather just not look dead.
Yeah.
Because I like neutrals because I like not thinking about what I'm going to wear.
Yeah.
I really loved in early stages of motherhood taking out that extra thinking and just grabbing
everything
something.
matches, even if it
even if it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it everything was kind of just casual and then you can add a blazer to it and it'd be dressy or whatever,
Yeah.
Anyways, nobody asked about that at all. Wait.
What?
Last week's episode, the one where we talked about friendships and that I was nervous to post because I was like, oh man, we rambled.
We did.
Hella hard for an hour and
that's my favorite.
An hour and 16 minutes of what y'all saw.
Yeah.
I actually edited that one for to cut some stuff down just a little bit. But like we've had like 4 or 5 comments on that already on the YouTube channel.
Yay!
Like favorite episode yet. And I was like, what? Like we're trash. What are you doing?
But we're funny trash.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Funny trash. Yeah. But so yeah, I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. Yay.
Yay us.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, your hair just looks fantastic all the time. So
Hey, thanks. Sometimes. Because it's like, what is it? The landscaper's lawn is never mowed type of thing. So I'm lucky if mine is brushed. I do brush mine every day because not to like style it, but I will brush it from my scalp. But it's very rare that I actually style my hair.
In case you didn't know, like it's your first episode listening to us, Irene is a hairstylist. You've been one for what, 13, 14 years?
A long time.
Yeah. Which I can't believe we're at that age where we can say that.
I know, right?
Whoa.
Well, okay. I'm at the age where my clients' kids who were like 7, 8 when I started doing my clients' hair are now graduated, some of them from college. And I'm like, oh no, I've been there this long. So weird.
And like you're probably
weird.
like somewhat a little bit emotionally invested because they probably like share a lot of details.
Oh,
wow. Yeah, that's full on. Okay.
Moms share a lot more. I mean, moms do overshare. It's very typical, but man, you get in that chair, things just come out. It's great.
Hopefully it's words and nothing else. But yeah, so she's a stylist by trade. So we will have a hair care episode coming up.
Yes,
because
very soon.
Again, she knows things. I don't. I should brush my hair more. Whenever.
You should. But got lots of tips.
Yeah. Well, what are we talking about today?
We actually had somebody on Instagram reach out. So we love when you guys reach out for topics because
it's so great.
Like we can talk for hours, but then we didn't know. I mean, the rambly episode was great, but we're like, people aren't going to want to hear us ramble forever. We got to like grab the reins on some of these podcasts. But anytime someone sends us requests, we put them in a shared note. So keep doing that. We love that. But one of our listeners said, hi, I watch y'all's podcast on YouTube like religiously. I'm pregnant and have watched it since before I found out. If y'all are ever able to, I'd love to hear how y'all tackled the newborn phase. Like if you swaddled, followed a schedule, pumped, etc., etc. Are you supposed to say the initials?
ETC, etc. Okay. I was like, what's ETC? I'm so behind on the newest trends.
I'm trying to prepare as much as possible, and I love all your advice. Keep up the awesome podcast. And that was super, super sweet.
I love that. And I love how Southern she is. She's like,
yes, I love it.
We're just assuming that you're Southern.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that.
Well, this is another rabbit trail, but like, what did you grow up saying?
Y'all, I'm from, I'm Oklahoma. Like,
because Ashley Ball, who was on our podcast, said y'all all the time because her family's all from like Texas to one of the Carolinas, I think. So I remember in high school, we used to always kind of like poke fun at her for saying her and her sister because they said y'all for everything. And we just didn't say that on the West. Like we're South, but we're the West. So
yeah, she's from New Mexico.
Everything was dude.
Really?
Yeah. So now it's funny when people
dude
are
is
like,
your y'all?
Like kind of, or I don't know. What did we say? We didn't say y'all. I just remember we said dude a lot and the adults always got mad. And then like now I hear adults saying dude still when I go back home to visit. And like,
wow. Okay.
Like apparently you're not supposed to say dude because it's stereotyping, but
whatever.
It's just funny.
Fluffy
It's
baby
so
dolls.
funny.
Like we don't.
So it's, I don't know.
We don't pander to those
country
people.
country to country, coast to coast of the country. What is normal?
No, I remember. So I lived in Oklahoma for like my vocalizing, like developmenting. Yeah. My God, words. Like this. It's
as you were learning how to speak.
As I was learning how to speak, I was in Oklahoma. But as I was learning my vocabulary, I grew up in Oklahoma, and so I had a really bad Southern draw. Not bad, but I had a Southern draw. And then I moved to Florida and got made fun of really heavily for
what
my.
Does Florida say?
Huh? Not for y'all, but just for my accent in general. They were like, it was just, traumatizing for a 9-year-old to be called a hillbilly and stuff. Yeah. So I quickly got rid of that. But when I sing, it comes out a lot, but sometimes.
When Jacob is really tired, he gets a little Southern. And then I do make fun of him because it like doesn't, it's so unlike him, the business him that's an adult now. But when he's real tired, it comes out. It was you guys.
Don't tell me about that.
We got to do a podcast on pheromones. So we can relive that conversation I said to you earlier. It's an inside thing. Maybe we'll talk about it later. Guys, I think we said you guys because I remember it was dudes you weren't allowed to say because that was like it's a dude.
Disrespectful.
Everybody was a dude. And it was you guys, because it's like, you can't say guys. You don't know if there's girls in the group. I'm like, there was a big thing about it on social media a few years ago. And I remember thinking, I'm going to say you guys till I die, because that's what I grew up on. Anyways, you guys, if you're going to find a best friend and marry their brother, just be prepared for them to panic at you when you have close conversations about your life.
So what we did, well, okay, let me grab a chair real quick. I'm really excited because we have some guests that are coming up.
Yeah.
So I don't know when you guys are going to watch this, but we've probably already been on vacation and we're back, and you're seeing this like after the fact. So yay, we've been on a cruise and it was awesome.
Woo-hoo.
Hopefully we're tan. Yes. Anyways, but we have a bunch of guests.
Spray tan just beforehand, but
I thought about doing a rub on. Mm-hmm. But we have a bunch of guests, a couple of people who are pros about parasites, pros about other health things. I'm just going to keep that vague. Yeah. And then also a couple of homesteaders and or like regenerative farming. So like there's we have quite a few different people in the line, like on the lineup, and I'm very excited about it. Yay. So if there's anybody you follow on social media and you're like, oh my gosh, you should reach out to this person because they're like us, and you know, whether it's like conservative or mothers or whatever, send them our way.
Because we have gotten a lot of tags too, which that's been awesome. Like someone
have we really have not seen any?
Well, someone shared the other day that where she gets her beef tallow from.
Oh yeah,
and that's great because the people that we normally buy from, they sell out within minutes of posting.
Yeah, so that's good to know.
Yeah, so if you have any cool things,
send them to us. Like, we like things. Let's be friends and share all the details, and then not tell anybody else in the world, so that we can just hoard everything for ourselves.
Don't sell out my tallow after 2 minutes of being live.
Well, we have an episode where we're going to talk about our skincare and hair care products and our body, like what things we use and don't use. And like I have like beef tallow on that list, and I'm like, I'm scared to recommend this brand because like it already sells out so fast. And anyways. Okay.
You could also just buy a cow and make your own. Make my life a little easier. Maybe not yours. But.
Well, we could make it out of the beef that we cook.
Yeah,
you
that's
could.
True.
You just have to render it yourself, which I have done.
Yeah,
but very small scale.
Yeah, you just get
but you can
small
buy
of a dose.
You can buy the fat from the butcher.
Can you really?
Yeah, you can buy the fat, cut it down, boil it down over a long extended period of time. But
I don't have the capacity for that.
That's okay. That's the thing is like I don't want to do that, and I don't want my house smelling like fat. I'd rather pay a surplus for someone else to do that. Put some calendula in it and ship it to my house.
Right.
Anyways, whoa. What's the question?
We can go through the specific questions and then just chit chat about things that we did. Did you swaddle?
I did. I wouldn't say for a long time. It wasn't like we swaddled her until she was 6 months. Yeah. It was just like, I would say the first like 2-3 weeks we didn't swaddle. I just like, she was on one of our chests, like bare chested the whole time. Yeah. But when we kind of started getting a rhythm and breastfeeding was established and all that stuff, then we'd kind of swaddle her and put her in bed because she, babies go through that like flailing and like she would wake herself up. Yeah. And it was like, I'm fully aware and I know that babies need their sensory input and swaddling can sometimes be you can do it too much. Like just like everything. Everything needs moderation. And so we just were mindful of the time and she kind of like let us know when she was done because she'd kind of wiggle an arm out. We didn't do it like, you see some people like they do it like hella tight. And I'm like, she was a loose burrito.
Yeah. We kind of did the same.
So like she could like wiggle her arm out. Yeah. But it wasn't that like jolt that would.
Yeah. They do though. I mean, they do. So funny when you see them do it when you're awake.
My nose itches.
That's okay. We did not swaddle Nova at all. I don't know. Man, that second kid is just a whole different experience. Because like the first kid, you can take the time to think, like, did we swaddle? Did we swaddle? We did a little bit because you can watch them and think, oh, they hates this. Like Riker hated it. I can't talk either today. Should have got protein. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Dave's making us dinner.
Yeah.
We tried swaddling him and he didn't love it. We did it if he was napping so that he wouldn't jolt himself awake. But for the most part, we pretty much co-slept. I think from as soon as he turned like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I was tired of getting up every couple hours. So.
You went the whole first 3 weeks with getting up every night?
I don't know if my brain wants to say it was 3 weeks. I just remember waking up at 3 a.m., sobbing because I had not the Raynaud's syndrome or something, but where
What?
Oh, it was horrible.
What are you talking about?
It's a syndrome, but I don't know that I actually had the syndrome. I think his latch was just bad, and I was too stubborn to like supplement or pump. So I just dealt with it. But his latch would literally he was getting plenty of milk, but his latch would get the milk but cut off circulation to my nipple. So when he would unlatch, it's like your foot fell asleep, but it's all the nerve endings in your nipple. And so like he would unlatch and my nipple would be completely white, like solid white. So all the blood would have to rush in, and it was just like painful, but also like I really wanted to nurse, and I was not.
Yeah.
And at the time we couldn't afford to get his lip tie done, which fun fact, he ended up busting his face on a coffee table a couple years later, and now he doesn't have a lip tie, but we just couldn't afford it, which is one of the, I think we've talked about it before, how that particular lactation consultant made me feel like a terrible mom because it was just get a payment plan. I'm like, lady, we don't do things in credit. I don't just want a payment plan. And I'm also like tired. I'm in pain. I'm hormonal. It was a whole, not my best experience, I would say. But I woke up at
lactation consultant.
Yeah. Woke up at 3 a.m. like sobbing my eyes out because like I was tired. I'm still sore. I wanted to nurse my baby. I wanted to nurse my baby, but I'm just like was tired of getting up. And then finally, that's when Jacob, who never wanted to co-sleep because he was terrified of squishing the baby, was like, just bring him in bed. And then I think it was either 2 or 3 weeks. So all that to say, we started co-sleeping around then. And then we didn't really swaddle him because if he would wake up and flail, I would just grab his arm and tuck back in and like swaddle him with my arms. But nap time, we would swaddle a little, but he would just cry. And if we did swaddle and he would freak out that he couldn't move, we would just let him free.
Yeah.
But you kind of just have to, I think you kind of just have to watch your baby.
Yeah.
And if your
become their expert, kind of go into it being like, sweet, we're both learning each other. Like who are you? Let me get to know you. Let me figure out what you like, and then become their expert. Yeah. Which is why I say don't let people come in and interrupt you. Like basically in like a crash course for learning this person. Like, would you, if you were taking like a huge test, I don't know, I didn't go to school. If you were taking, like doing something really important, would you like a whole bunch of people coming in and interrupting all that, holding the kid, taking it out, you know, like being away from it? Like, no, you need to become their expert, create your bond first. Everyone else can bond later.
I also say in the first probably 2 months, leading up to baby, when you're trying to learn everything and the algorithm knows you're trying to learn everything, I started following like, oh, that's good advice. I'm going to follow this account. Within that first 2 months, I unfollowed a lot of accounts except for lactation because I was like, well, I can always learn more about nursing more efficiently. Yeah. But there were people that are like, well, if your baby's sleeping this many hours, it's terrible. And then somebody else would say, if your baby's not sleeping this, it's terrible. And I'm like, what do I do? And it ended up being like, okay, this is my kid. I learned my children hate to sleep. So I just learned how to function on that versus we didn't really do, which is kind of leading into another question. We didn't really do sleep training, partially because when I had Riker, I feel like the only sleep training I found was cry it out. And I didn't believe in that method at all. So maybe I could have gotten more sleep. But I also, when I had him, I wasn't working. That was that weird lull where I didn't have clients or a salon or anything. So I didn't have to sleep. It's like, well, I'll get up at his whim. He knows when he's hungry. So we did not sleep train. Sometimes that has bitten me in the butt now. But I've thought about it multiple times. And it's like, I don't think I would have changed anything. Yeah. Maybe tried to like do some things, but I don't think we would still sleep train unless I found a method that I agreed with. It's care. I don't know. If a baby bird cries, the mom's not just kicking it out of the nest. It's baby bird cries, mom go get some worm. So.
There's that reel that I don't know if you've seen it. I'm pretty sure it was like a viral reel of that woman saying like, you know, people were saying, oh, like we sleep train and let them cry it out. And that's when it's working. And it's like, no, it's not working. It's like your kid's like nervous system is shutting off because mom isn't coming and I need to be quiet before a predator comes gets me. Right. So I don't like the cry it out method either. Yeah. But we did, I wouldn't say sleep train, but I followed an account called Taking Care of Babies.
Oh yeah. I think I follow them.
And she talks a lot about just wake windows. So I just learned about like wake windows for that age. And I would say that kind of partners with, I took a breastfeeding course. Did I ever tell you about that?
Yes.
From a podcast that I don't really support anymore because they really let me down. They were really like, they're a wonderful resource for pregnant women.
But they're pro killing your baby.
And I feel like those, you cannot work in birth and be you can't do both at the same time. You cannot be like, yes, women deserve, like to freedom of where to birth. And then also be like, but if you also want to murder it, go for it. Like, so I have a hard time, like, because it was such a great resource.
But if your baby comes out, are they going to be like if your baby comes out as a stillborn, are they going, well, make another one. That one doesn't count. It's like, that's what I would be thinking if they're pro killing off your baby. Yeah.
And I had someone at my birth who won't be there at the next birth who was I learned after the fact that was very pro abortion. And that would have been a no-go for me.
Yeah.
And because those things are not congruent. Yeah. they can't be true at the same time. Like you cannot be there to resuscitate a baby and also be pro killing it.
Baby.
Yeah. Wow. Anyways, from that course, there's a gal I took the breastfeeding course from, and she just said, the simplest thing I can tell you about breastfeeding is if your baby's awake, if an awake baby is a hungry baby. So every time it's awake, try to nurse it because especially within that first 4 to 6 weeks, they sleep a lot. They sleep a lot. And most time if they're awake, they're wanting to nurse. So nurse them anytime you can. And then we also close up from the beginning, which Dave was also not on board with. We should have them back on and talk specifically about that. But he was not on board. He's like, what if I roll over? I don't know. And he did he's like, I'm not ready for her to leave yet. It's like an end of an era if she does.
I mean, we got to where Riker was, I kept him in bed probably longer than whatever. Actually, no, it worked for our family. So I'm not even going to say longer than we should have because it worked for us. But,
and just because it works for her, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you or me.
You have to do what works for you.
And you have to be confident in your decision as parenting is this works for us. You don't know my kid. You don't know us and our home life. Yep. So I hate the term you do you, but you are in charge of your family. Take authority over it.
Yeah. One with Riker, he was not quite 2 when Nova was born. And we didn't want to kick him out of bed for this new baby. So when we only have a queen size bed. So
you were squished.
We were squished for a long time, but it worked for us. And when I was ready, I was like, get these kids out of my bed before I die.
Yeah.
Jacob was the one that was like, one more night. And still sometimes I'm like, kick them out. And he's like, they're fine. And then we'll flip flop. He's like, all right, I need to sleep tonight. And I'm like, no, she's fine. So
yeah.
And now I'd say 90% of the time they sleep in their own beds. Maybe someone will crawl in with us at 4, but it's not for everything's a season. Nothing's forever.
For the next one, I'd be curious if wake windows would work for you. Because I don't know if it works for everybody.
Because it doesn't sound different from what we did. Like if they were awake, I was with them. And if they napped, I was.
No, it was you follow their cues. Like if they're doing these certain cues but it's different for every age. So it's hard to for me to remember newborn stage. I should have looked at this beforehand, but
it changes so fast.
Their wake windows, they're only supposed to be awake in those early days, 30 minutes at a time. Yeah. Be awake 30 minutes and then go to sleep for an hour.
Because their brains can't handle
they're
that
still
much information.
Processing. And so, getting used to freedom. But they sleep a lot. And if that, if you start ignoring those, wake windows and keeping them up too long or whatever, it gets out of whack. And
that's when
and a newborn's probably, it really shouldn't sleep through the night. You don't want your kid, except for that first night. Usually we're moms and we're wives and we're very particular about the things that we put in our kids' bodies and our husbands' bodies. And that sounds kind of weird, but in our bodies. Keep rolling.
Welcome to the ad.
Ooh, yeah. But we have found a brand that we really, really like and trust. And we're trying to get them to come on the podcast.
Yes. We have lots of questions for them. And we know a lot of things, but we want to hear from the experts. But until then, you can check out their website. They have a lot of really good informational sheets. Something really cool they also have is you can go to their website, fill out this form, and they'll do a virtual consultation where they give you advice or what they think you should take, which is super cool of them. But our code is UTSP10. That'll get you 10% off your order. We do get a little bit of a kickback from that. So
because otherwise we don't get paid from this podcast at all.
Right.
So please use our code.
Yeah.
Help us. We need some food. I'm just kidding. Bye guys.
Sometimes,
baby's born and then the baby sleeps usually for most of that 24 hours after. But
when I hear clients, my kid started sleeping through the night at 3 weeks, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But
why is that happening?
But I would argue that they probably shouldn't. They should still be nursing every 3 hours if at least eating. And if they're not eating every 3 hours, then they're probably not getting enough food or they're being fed too much at the beginning and then they're probably puking all the time.
Yeah.
But we just fed on demand and like let her sleep on demand in the beginning. Like honestly, like I would say within the first 6 weeks, we put no time constraints or pressure on anything.
Yeah.
Like
that's the best.
Is she sleepy? Great, girlfriend, you can sleep. Like I'll come cuddle with you and watch Monk on TV. Like if you're hungry, here's my boob. Like I literally, anytime she showed any interest, I gave it to her. Yeah. Like it was, which made life easier.
On that note of like following their cues and doing what works for you, that what I was going earlier and then I got rabbit trailed. Sorry. But no, it was my own rabbit trail. But in those first few weeks, anytime an account made me feel inadequate as a mom, I immediately unfollowed. Even if the information is good, and that's happened through like toddlerhood too. If accounts are like, if your kid's plate doesn't look like this and they're not getting what they need. And it's like, that's great. But I also work on a business. I'm a person. Like my kids are fine. It's like anything that made me feel, unless you're literally feeding your kids McDonald's every day, you're doing fine. Just take a breath because the kids can feel the stress that you're stressed out with more than they can feel like, okay, my kid ate potato chips for lunch. They'll be fine.
The moms who feel, like mom guilt, like you wouldn't feel that unless you were a good mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
if an account's making you feel, especially in the first few months when first few weeks, hormonal, your emotions are like a little bit like you're overstimulated with things, like just unfollow accounts and you can follow them back later if you like their info. But
I would argue, unless you're struggling with something specific, don't be on your phone.
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
I would say probably the first month, besides taking photos of her, which I cherish so much, those first couple, like, but I was not on my phone for a long, like I'd pop on for a little bit, but like you'll never get that time back and you'll never regret. I don't know why that gives me goosebumps because I'm like, you won't get that time back. And they're only that small that one time. So like, just enjoy it. Don't rush through it. You don't need to post that. I mean, you can post that they were born, but like you don't need to, don't feel obligated to share your kid or those moments with the world. Yeah. I don't know.
On the note of him going too fast, Riker held up his hand earlier and he's like, he's 4 right now. And he goes, at my next birthday, I'm going to be a grown up and then I can get married. I was like, okay, well, you're only going to be 5. And then I held up my hand. I was like, that is all the fingers. Oh. So one more birthday and we're officially going to be on 2 hands. And then I almost cried and I was like, he's like, I didn't let him know I was going to cry, but I think he could tell that my mood shifted because then he was just looked at me like I was insane. But I was probably doing that creepy mom stare. So
yeah,
buddy, you're going to be all of your fingers and then you're never again going to be able to fit on one finger with your age, one hand with your age.
It's weird to be a mom. Yeah, it's great, but it's weird. Yeah. We were just talking beforehand. Oh, you got a little water, guys. I'm sorry.
My buddy.
Yeah. That I was doing photography. I do photography on the side. And I was doing a session for a family and it was the mother-daughter turn to take photos. And it kind of hit me that like, oh, like someday we'll do like mother-daughter photos of me and Leora. And I'm like, what is she going to look like as a teenager? Like, oh my gosh, like don't grow up.
And we're working on breathing techniques with Nova for her outbursts. And so the other day she stopped what she was doing. She was crying and she on her own without me even prompting, she goes, and she just looked like she was really struggling to maintain it. And then I just had a flash of like, one day she's going to be in labor and need these breathing techniques. And I'm like, oh, weird. My baby's going to be somebody's mommy. And that was a weird like mom to a daughter moment. That was like, oh, kiddo.
Yeah. You know what's weird is you carried your grandchildren.
I know.
So if you've been pregnant with a daughter, she'll have all of the eggs she'll ever use in her life. So I carried my grandchildren.
Yeah. All the more reason to be extra careful with your
toxins,
eggs,
environments. Yeah.
Because it'll pass through.
For sure. Let's talk about pumping.
Yeah. I pumped. I had an oversupply with Riker, which I will forever be grateful for because I had heard someone say I knew I was going to eventually go back to work. And
talk to me about this. Cause like, I don't get it. It's like how did you know you had an oversupply? Were you pumping as well?
I was pumping as well. And I could, so with him.
Like immediately, like he was born, you came home, you pumped?
I think I gave it, I gave it like a week and then he would nurse. But I had so much milk that even as a newborn, he would kind of like choke on it. Was the Haka
a thing when he?
It was a thing, but I never got one. I got, I didn't have one with Riker. I did have one with Nova and I hated it. I didn't like the suction because I think the one that I had wasn't suction. It just like sat in your bra And it was just like a letdown catcher. It didn't actually suck anything out.
Sucks.
So I loved that one. I loved the one that didn't suck because it would just catch the letdown. I would bottle that up. And he was feeding every 3 hours, but I would feed him. And then like 30 minutes later, I would pump a little. And then I've heard that's something you can do if you're trying to build a stash, which I didn't know how true it was. But with him, it was like my letdowns were aggressive. He would never fully drain my boob. So it would be not that long after I would finish draining it. And I'd get like 4 to 6 ounces per boob, even post feed.
Wow.
And that was with him like swallowing, peeing all the time.
Wow.
I built up a really nice stash before I realized if they're going to be stored longer than a year, they need to be in a deep freeze. We were also renting an apartment with just like a basic freezer. And I know we'd lost power a bunch and it just made me nervous. 1 or 2 times I gave him the milk later on and he threw up. So I'm like, I don't know. It made me uncomfortable, but I threw away hundreds of ounces because I was just, it had been like a year and a half.
Oh,
it was not in a deep freeze. The couple times I gave it to him, it made him sick. Or like his belly, you could tell was just upset. So I was like, I don't know if maybe there was something in it. Either way.
I still have a bag of your breast milk.
Because I don't have any of Nova's. And I almost cried not earlier, but like a year ago earlier when I'm like, I don't have milk from each of my kids. How am I going to make this piece of jewelry? And then I had to remind myself, you have 2 human beings to prove that you like did it. Yeah. But all that to say, I would feed him and then pump. I don't think I had an oversupply at first. I think I would feed him and then pump.
Well, supply and demand. You told your body you needed more milk. So
and I had milk everywhere. And with Nova, when I actually was working and needed it, I could barely keep up. Because with her, I was like, whatever, the milk will come. Supply and demand was great, but building a stash supply is way different than having enough milk for your baby.
I think it probably depends on what your life is going to look like after.
I also didn't want with Nova the pressure to like, I have to build a stash. Yeah. And that caused a little bit of stress in the beginning just for me to throw away hundreds of ounces. So I'm like, with Nova, it'll be fine. And she's fine. And she did it. And a couple times we borrowed milk from her aunts. But that was when I was actively working and just, I have to be gone all day tomorrow. I don't have anything to pump. And I'd pump out like an ounce maybe. So
yeah. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that your baby can get out more than you pump.
Yes.
So like when you were pumping probably the 4 to 6 ounces, Riker was probably getting way more than like he can, or at least, take what he needs and go. Mm-hmm. I didn't pump in the beginning. Again, that breastfeeding course I took that was super helpful. It was basically like, don't put any pressure on yourself for the first 6 weeks. But she said, it's like, you can, if you feed your baby on your right boob, get the haka. I don't know. Yeah. The one I liked was like, it was like a little vessel that you pinched. You pinched and then, because there's like the one that sits in your bra and then you like fold it back and then you like release it on your boob. And then because it's pinched, it's suctioning out and catching the letdown. And so I just did that for a long time. I would say like 4 or 5.
That was more aggressive than I thought it was going to be.
I'm trying to talk about my experience. Like 4, 5, 6 months. Like I did it for a long time. And then I would basically like catch 4 or 5 ounces, 4 or 5 ounces, 4 or 5 ounces with every single nursing time.
Yeah. And did she not switch or she did feed on both sides?
One was enough for her.
Okay.
Usually. She really didn't start switching to both sides for nursing until well after a year.
Oh.
So I would nurse her on the left.
Yeah.
And then it would be a couple hours or whenever. I mean, I would like to say that it's like, every hour, every 2 hours, but we just fed on demand. Like I did not think.
Yeah.
Unless it was like we were out in public and she seemed fine and it had been over 3 hours and she was still very young.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, no, like you can tell you'll be uncomfortable. You're like, I got to feed this kid.
Yeah.
But I didn't put any pressure on myself, but I'm really grateful I did because, a friend needed some supply and I just gave her everything I had because I kind of,
there's that village.
I wanted, that connection from breastfeeding the whole time, which there's no shame if like that doesn't happen for you and you have to pump the whole time.
Yeah.
But like for me, it was working. Oops, that was my phone. It was working for us. And so, then my friend needed continual help. And so I'd pump, but then, something happened. Leo got sick or something. And when your kid's sick for the very first time, like 4 or 5, I can't remember, 4 or 5 months. And I had gone back to work and I was watching Leo while also working from home.
Geez, yeah.
And then that's what it was. Leo got sick. I started back to work and I was pumping, and it was just too much because I was pumping like twice a day, and I had to be like, friend, I love you, but like I can't keep it up working full time. And then it was still like a couple months until I left. I left work, and then so I stopped pumping altogether, and then I haven't pumped since. Yeah, I tried a couple times. I've had a couple other friends who've had some issues with breastfeeding, and so they were like, "Hey, is there any way you can pump extra for us?" And I tried, and it was just like it was too much on my body, and I could tell like Leo seemed more frustrated at the breast, and I was like, "It's not fair to her. Yeah,
she is your main priority.
She is my priority to feed. It's my job to feed her." So I just stopped pumping, and I packed the pump away, and
we should have a breastfeeding expert but from the nutritional side, because I know you and I know what to do, but we should get someone who is a pro and talk about that. Or we can talk about our experience on another one.
There's a gal we should have, the gal who does real food in pregnancy. She might be too big for us, but like it would be really great to have her, because she debunks that book is incredible, and she's
never read her book.
You never read her book?
I don't think so.
It's really great. Because it debunks all this, like you can't have poultry, you can't have deli meat, and it's like, yes, you can. You can have deli meat. Yeah. Like, yes, you can have coffee. Like, but she gives like the actual, like she'll source the studies and
that's
like
awesome.
give excerpts, right?
Excerpts. I don't know.
There's too many.
We were homeschool.
My brain was. Doesn't matter. Anyways, she takes out little chunks of it and puts it in the book. But I just listened to her on the Alex Clark podcast. And she is writing another book because she said so much has even changed since she wrote that 3 or 4 years ago. But it's really good.
That's awesome.
Because I was like not panicking, but I was like, oh, I'm a terrible mom if I drink coffee. And you're not a terrible mom if you drink coffee.
No.
I didn't even want coffee that first trimester.
No.
So. Anyways.
What was I going to say about... Oh, and I had a lot of stress in the beginning, which with Nova, I had no stress. By the time the second kid came around, though, I knew my body was capable. And I knew my body was capable the first time. But you know that little bit of like mom doubt that creeps in? Because I know you've mentioned it before, too. You're like, my boob's not as full. Is she getting enough? And it's like, yes.
Well, once your body starts regulating.
You don't get over full. Yeah. So it's like, is there milk there? And then they're just guzzling away. But it's like that slight mom panic. That's like, okay, what's going on? But
because in the beginning, you have... So if you've never had a baby, if this mom, she's pregnant and she's like, it's weird, but like your boobs just
feel like a bag of rocks.
They feel like a bag of rocks.
And the weirdest.
They're like,
sometimes I have phantom rock pains. I'm like, ow. And I'm like, oh, it's empty. What's happening?
It's, you can tell when it's gone too long.
Yeah.
And your body knows, like, I know people got so mad at our reel that the body knows what to do, but most of the time.
No, I won't say that. Never mind.
What?
I was going to say the unmedicated body knows what to do. But sometimes you need medication for things. Yes. I'm not talking life-saving medications. I'm talking hormonal medications. If you're not messing with your hormones, your body knows what to do.
Pitocin can interfere with letdown. Yes.
Years and years of birth control not detoxed out of your system.
Yes. Lots of things.
There's a lot of things. I'd feel like there's only one now. There we go. My kids recorded over it on accident, so we should take it home and have them record it together again.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. But then also like I know someone who had a home birth, had her dream birth. It was fast and had some issues with retained placenta that she didn't know about. Like so that is like there's grace in all of it. Like there's never like you're never a terrible mom if things didn't work out. Yeah. But I interrupted.
Yes. No, that's true. But that's also hormonal. Like retained placenta can.
Yeah, that is a hormonal issue. Which
there's I don't know. There's a lot to say, but that's.
Well, like for instance, if you give birth to a baby and they immediately throw a hat on it, that is a intervention that affects your hormones. Because if you're not smelling that freaking baby, like that affects your hormones. That affects your milk coming in.
Yeah. I watched a video the other day that I sent you.
Yeah.
Where a mom licked the baby's meconium. And I had the thought, I kind of want to lick this kid. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it because my husband will divorce me. And I didn't do it. But I had the thought. And I'm like, well, mammals lick their babies and I won't do it.
You had like when the baby came out, you gave birth and you had the primal desire.
I didn't have the primal desire to lick them. So I'll tell the listeners a story, so they're not like, this girl's a weirdo. But one time,
they're already aware. If they've been here for any amount of time, they're aware we're weirdos.
One time
we need a taller table. My legs can't cross.
One time when my toddler was sick, she was running a fever, and I had I cannot describe to you how overwhelming the feeling was to lick her forehead. And it wasn't like, let me feel if she has a fever. I have never had that strong of an urge to lick someone's face ever in my life. And then for whatever, I was just like, whatever, it's my baby. She was maybe like a little over a year. I licked her forehead, and it was just like, okay, whatever. Then I got it out of my system. But when they're sick, their saliva will change. It'll go into the receptors on your nipple and literally change the properties of your milk. Yeah. So the fact that I only ever had that desire once when she had a pretty bad fever, I was like, well, something in my system needed to put her fever something receptors in. I have no science to back that up, but other mammals lick their kids. So I did lick her head when she had a fever, and then I never licked it again. And I didn't really have the desire when she was born to lick her head, but I remember bringing them close. My mouth was on them. It wasn't licking, but my lips were on their head, and I was smelling them, and then you lick your lips. So it's just the thing.
You're right. Thing. I remember kissing Leo. I couldn't help it, but do the little kisses, and man, the high, just the high. Oh, I love it.
I sent Jacob a reel the other day that I think I sent it to you at the same time. That's I need to have another baby so I can get that mom high. And he's like, please go away. That's always his Yeah. Because that little bit of a high for him is 10 months of pregnancy and labor for him, where I'm like, that's nothing. It's fine.
We are not the same.
Ask me again when I'm 6 months pregnant. I'm miserable, but
I want to be pregnant at the same time, but I'm not ready yet. So
I'm getting old, so we gotta get there.
It depends on the day, man. Y'all are just gonna have to hear about it until
one of us gets
knocked up, and then it convinces the other one that now's not the time. Anyways, what else did she ask about?
I think those were the main things. But another thing I wanted to say about the earlyhood, you gifted it to me because one of the Instagrammers and YouTubers that we followed used it for her baby, an app called Wonder Weeks. Oh. So you put in.
That was really helpful.
It was really helpful. So I'm going to probably butcher this explanation, but you put in the baby's due date, not the day they were born, not the birthday, just the date because they go off of I always say that word wrong. Gestational age, not birth age. And so they have these little leaps where their brain goes from just floating around in water. They don't know anything. And then all of a sudden they understand oh, things are different colors. Well, it scares them. Their brain doesn't know how to process. They're building all these new pathways. They get fussy.
They get overwhelmed.
They get overwhelmed. It's overstimulation.
They just want to
until
nurse
they
all
can
the time.
Settle. Yeah. So from the mom's point of view, baby's fussy. I can't make them happy. What am I doing wrong? And then you look at the app. It's oh, they're in the middle of a leap, and then
it'll last usually this many days.
Yeah, it kind of gives you a hint of okay, is something wrong? Are you sick? Am I a terrible mom? Or are you just learning new things? And it's a little scary to you. And so it's that time you give extra cuddles. But that Wonder Weeks app was super helpful.
I'll never
forget.
Again,
first kid. Second kid, I'm you're probably fine.
Yeah. The first, I would say 6 months, it was spot on. It got off at some point, but okay, what is going on with you? Why are you so grumpy? This isn't your personality. Yeah. And then it'd be ding, Leo's entering a leap. And I'm yep. It was spot on.
Yeah.
But they give you really great explanations of things, why it's happening, tips on how to comfort them. Man, we should have them endorse us.
Oh, that'd be great.
That's a great... Because honestly, so side tangent, Irene and I are genuine people, and we won't recommend something that we haven't used ourselves.
Yes.
Or, and we wouldn't recommend to a close family member.
Yeah.
If we were out to make the money, we would have taken a couple of deals that have come already our way, but we won't endorse things that we are toxic, that for some reason their brand doesn't align with our values. Or we'd rather be genuine and have friends as followers than it's gonna be no, totally buy Dawn dish soap.
I would like to put it out there too that what I would strive to do in the future is I followed a lot of people who I loved, connected with, and then the next thing you know, it's twofold. They'd post something. It's I can't decide what table to get. This one's just a little bit pricier, so I just don't know. And the difference was a $4,000 table or a $7,000 table.
We are not in the same tax bracket.
All of a sudden, this person that you kind of grew with, But then the other part of me is like, you know what? Good for you. If
You worked hard.
You worked hard and you got that. But I would like to think that we would keep, for one, I don't think I'd ever spend $7,000 on a table because it's going to get markered on.
Yeah.
So that's just a different, but I don't know. Either way, it's like part of me is like, good for you for doing that. But it's like you kind of lost a lot of your, when someone's like, oh my gosh, you guys have to get this sweater. It's on sale. It's $100 off. And I'm like, $100 off? I wouldn't pay $100 total. So it's down a note because I knew I would forget. I do much better with paper. So I'm just going to start doing paper because I put it in my phone. It's like a to-do list. Anytime I have a to-do list on my phone, as soon as I type it in my phone, my brain thinks it's done.
Yeah.
But if I do it on paper, then something is like, oh, I have to do that still. I wrote it down. Anyways, you said you were, when Leo was sick, did your milk turn green anytime she was sick? Because mine always was like blue or green when my kids were sick.
Yeah, it varied in a lot of things. Like it
So
would
if
be
your
really
milk changes
heavily
color-
yellow. It would sometimes be, I don't think I ever got blue, but it would get kind of green tinted. But I
always
knew
thought it
that.
was
So
cool.
again, I'm older.
Mm-hmm.
Like how old were you when you had Riker?
29.
29. I guess I was 29 when I had Leo, but I don't know. I just felt like everybody had already done it.
Yes.
So like,
That was nice part. You can ask people questions. They're on their like fourth kid. I'm like, oh, this is normal. Good.
yeah. And so like I knew that the breast milk changed colors.
Mhm.
And like I'm a psycho. I research.
Yep.
Like for me to feel confident in something, I need to research the crap out of it. So if I say something, usually it's because I researched the crap out of it. Do I remember where I found that information? No. Because
you remember
you can't go to the traditional Google. Actually, that's not allegedly.
That's true.
It's
Yeah.
very true.
Swaddled. Also with pumping,
Okay.
this is going to be all over the place because my brain
Yeah, that's okay.
totally, once I went upstairs, forgot about
No,
everything.
that's okay.
I think I boiled some of the pump. I boiled the pump parts with Riker
Oh,
in the beginning, but then I realized that's something that people were just because I watch How It's Made a lot with Jacob,
yeah.
and I didn't boil it for the germs. I boiled it because I'll watch like on How It's Made. I don't know if you guys watch How It's Made, but if they're made, it's like how bottle parts are made, and they'll spray this lubricant stuff on the bottle because if you're pouring it in this mold, it has to be able to come out of the mold and be nonstick. But then I'm watching them like, oh, we just spray this thing, it pops right out, and then the people are assembling it and then they're shipping it off.
Yeah.
So I was more concerned.
I sterilized it before I did it. Like, so I think I did an initial,
Yes.
like big, I remember being hella pregnant and like big pot boil, but not after that.
No. So I did that once in the beginning, but that's just to get the like release chemicals off of it. And then after that, I remember seeing a post that's like, how often do you sterilize? Some people were like, after every pump. I was like, how do you have that time? And I don't have a dishwasher, so everything was hand washed. I was like, I boiled them once and never again.
I saw a video, thankfully, in the beginning.
Yeah.
For one thing, I used the Haka most of the time for like the first.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Like, I mean, you got to think like every boob got like 4 to 6 ounces for every feed for the first like 3 or 4 months. So it was like, I mean, there was a lot of milk for a while there. But if I was like doing a pumping day, I would pump in the morning, take the parts, put them in a Ziploc baggie, put them in the fridge.
That was a great.
And then
thing
use
I ever
them for
learned.
24 hours.
Yep.
And then I'd take them out and I don't know what was wrong with our water. It's the same at this house. It is so hot. It's like, it'll scold you.
Yeah.
So I would just like fill up something, whether it was like a pot, I would fill up something, put it in there and it would get hot enough to where like I felt comfortable.
I didn't even do, towards the end, I would just like loosely throw it. I would keep it away from like food particles in the sink, but I would loosely wash it.
But like,
so
like how
they're fine. They're resilient.
The thing is like, just like how we're a microbiome, like the breast milk is very complicated. Yeah. Like it's very smart and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. So that's,
I really don't think Leo maybe only had like 5 pumped bottles in her life.
Yeah. I remember once when I was crying because like my nipples hurt so bad. And Jacob was like, he looked at me and he was like, you're not a bad mom if you just pump. So I also want this out there. Like if you just pump, if you have to do formula, like whatever, it's your child, you know what's best for your child. But Jacob was like, you're not a bad mom if you exclusively pump and just bottle feed him. And I wanted that bond with my kid.
Yeah.
So I like stubborn my way through it. But if you have to pump, because I also have an extremely high pain tolerance. So I don't know that like.
How long did that nipple thing last?
Probably till he was like 8 or 9 months.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I didn't
So-
realize it was that hard. I'm
It was
sorry.
crazy. I mean, it's okay. I didn't really know it was abnormal until my second. I mean, I knew that something was abnormal, but it's like, well, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
We'll muscle through. And then when Nova was born and she latched right away, I would like instinctually would like kind of crouch in a little.
Cringe, yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
So like my nursing relationship with her was great. It was just no pain, no anything. So
Yeah.
all that to say, if you pump, that's fine. But if you pump, you don't have to boil your parts every day. You don't even have to wash them after every feed. Just stick them in the fridge.
I don't know. I don't know why I feel like this is controversial, but like I know people are excited about putting that first outfit on. Leo didn't get that first outfit until like day like 6.
Yeah.
6 or something,
Mm-hmm.
which I get that you're excited, but like if you have the opportunity to just be shirtless in bed
Yeah.
with that kid skin to skin, just them in their diaper,
Mm-hmm.
like there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would just
Yeah.
say like be naked as long as you can
Mm-hmm.
with your depends because
Oh, that's another big one.
what depends?
Don't try to do the pads and underwear.
Oh,
There is
that
no
was a
shame.
No.
Just go straight to the depends. And I
I
had enough-
literally had Dave pull out my Depends on the toilet as I was nursing Leo.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you get to know each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. It's like because I'd had enough friends who were on their 3rd or 4th kid, they're like, oh, I tried pads and underwear because I'd rather, die than be so embarrassed to wear adult underwear or adult diapers. But then by like kids 3 and 4, it's like, I wish I would have done this the first time. So then I knew by
Yeah,
the
why
first
are you-
time, just
If you go into
Do
Kroger and you're buying Depends and you're pregnant,
no one's questioning
they're
you.
gonna know why you need it. Like, and there's
Yeah.
no shame in it. Like it's
Yeah.
natural.
I tried to find non-toxic.
Oh yeah, they don't have non-toxic.
There is
Depends.
nothing for
No.
adults. I tried
No.
because I'm like, I've got like, what if I have stitches? What if I have an open wound?
Uh-oh.
What's going to happen?
Taylor Little FaceTimed me.
Uh-oh.
I bet. It's
Hi,
I
Taylor.
bet it's a parasite. $5.
Good.
But
But yes,
Yeah.
someone come out with, or we should
oh my gosh, we totally should.
come up, write that on my note. No, but come out with
patent
non-toxic.
pending.
Patent
Patent pending, everybody.
There's not a button for that.
Shoot.
But yes, non-toxic. I would have loved to have had organic. I would have paid whatever for it because these are my bits and they're important
Yeah.
to me. But
Yeah.
but do what you can.
Well, so here's what I did. I did Depends, but I made padsicles.
Mm-hmm.
So the Depends never really went against my bits.
Yeah, mine
So,
did
like-
because I had tried padsicles. I did like once or twice and then just didn't want to fuss with them.
Yeah. Well,
But
to each their own.
Yeah.
Because you just have to find what works for you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like that curved peri bottle,
yeah,
curved peri bottle. Some people were like, couldn't have lived without it. It was
Yeah.
awesome. And I was
just
like,
saw someone on Instagram the other day. Is like, you have to get the curved one.
and I'm like, I didn't notice a difference between that one and the regular one.
I
However,
prefer the regular one.
really interesting. You know what I prefer? 2.
Oh,
2 bottles. That's what
Okay.
I cared about. I had a regular and I had a curved one.
yeah,
My pee lasted longer than 1 bottle. Like,
yeah,
like I didn't want to be sparse with it. So like when you're peeing and it
Yeah.
burns, like if you tear, I needed 2 bottles. So like I would pee and then I'd stop my pee and then
yeah.
grab the second bottle.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
Yeah.
that's our,
Mhm. I think that's all the other things. I was excited about the outfits, but we were naked a lot.
yeah.
But I'd put an outfit on, and then as soon as he'd fall asleep, I'd take his clothes off and pull him into me.
Yeah.
But if he was awake and playing, I'm like, oh, let's get you dressed.
But like there's some, and again, this is just what I see on social media.
Yeah.
So like it might not be this way at home, but
Mhm.
I've had lots of, friends or acquaintances have babies and they're like taking the photo and it's like clearly like an hour after it's born and it's like in a full outfit with the head
Mhm.
thing and then like they just seem always in outfits and I'm like, let
Yeah.
your baby be naked.
Yeah.
I let Leo pretty early on play naked, like do like tummy time.
Yeah.
Naked on, whatever surface. Like
Yeah.
she was little, like we would just sit there with her and
Yeah.
watch her. And she was born in the summertime. So we'd go out in the grass and I would just let her be naked. you
Yeah.
know, and let her feel her environment.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just feel like kids are dressed and their shoes are just
Yeah.
so,
So
don't put shoes. Leo didn't even wear socks for the first year.
Mm-mm.
And we live in Illinois and it gets
Yeah.
cold. And I would just you just put a blanket on him.
Yeah.
Come on. It's a baby.
That's a controversial thing.
You know what? I could have $1 million for every time I had an old person ask me, but where are their socks? Mommy doesn't think you're cold. And I'm like,
That's my kid. I think I know my kid.
I'm like, you random person don't know my child. Anyway.
But also the blanket thing. Like, you can't post a picture of your like baby in a crib without someone. Why is there a blanket in there? And I'm like,
I don't put a blanket under the harness.
Yeah.
Over the harness is fine.
Yeah.
You know? Whatever.
Again.
We also had a little zip up thing. That was awesome.
Thing was great. I wanted one.
It was like a little not suction. What am I calling? Like elastic thing that would fit right over. Mm-hmm. And people like to get all their panties in a tizzy because it isn't tested. But I'm like, I don't need everything to be tested. Yeah. Like if you just look at it, it's probably not going to affect the safety of it. Like
if you're paying attention to your kid, your gut instincts will take over.
Yeah. And it's like,
sometimes it's paranoia, but
she's harnessed in and it's, it's a safe distance, all the things and a little elastic thing over it that zips in front and doesn't even, it's not going to affect her safety. And if the odds of getting in an accident, you know, it was fine.
Yeah.
You use your discernment for what your kids need.
I also turned my kid around earlier than
you did?
Is recommended because he was just having severe anxiety. Like once he realized, I don't know what unlocked in his brain, but he was maybe barely over 2. And now they're like, don't turn your kids around until they're like 17 years old. But he would just be in hysteria. Anytime we'd be at a red light, he would just start screaming, the car's going to crash me. The car's going to crash me. And we're like, buddy, it's okay. It's a red light. We have to stop. And he would just unconsolable. So finally we're like, all right, I don't know what unlocked in your brain that you can realize a car's coming up behind you, but like the fear that was coming out of him. So we flipped him around and now he's been forward facing ever since. And now he's past the parameters, but he's fine. Mm-hmm. So
you know what's best for your kid.
Yes. Don't let the Instagram bullies tell you.
I would love to have a whole episode about that.
Yeah.
And the concept of mom shaming and mom guilt, because some of it is valid and some of it is just like victimhood.
Yeah.
So I would love to have a whole episode.
That'd be a fun one.
Okay. We're going to wrap it up.
Your recommendations.
Yes. We appreciate you. Honestly, everyone for listening because I don't know. It's a lot of fun. We're finding our people. And then it's really fun to see commenters who aren't our people not get attacked, but get handed to them for the people who are our people. So we're glad you're here.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for being with us today. Follow us on Instagram at @underthesun_podcast. We'd love to meet you.
Please help us out by subscribing on YouTube and leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time. Please remember this information is made available to you for informational and educational purposes only. It is in no way a substitute for medical advice.